All right, happy last week of distance learning, or sad last week of distance learning. This is the last lesson we're going to be doing here for the year. But you could just, since they're all recorded, you could just, all summer go back and listen to lessons if you're sad about this being the last one. So don't worry. All right, so the last thing that we are looking at is surface area of cylinders. Okay, so a cylinder is basically just a three-dimensional figure with curved surfaces and two circular bases. Okay, so the circular faces are the bases. So the top and the bottom circular faces are the bases, and so they're basically parallel from each other. Okay, on the top and the bottom. The width of the cylinder is just the distance between the two bases. Okay, and just like some of our other shapes, there is a formula for this that we can use. We can also look at the net to figure out the surface area. Okay, so I'm going to show you both of the ways. So the first way, if we looked at the net of this, right, if we were to unfold this cylinder, we would have this rectangle in the middle, okay, and then we'd be left with these two circles on the top and on the bottom. Okay, and if we wanted to find the surface area, we would have to find the surface or the area of all of these shapes. So the circles on the top and on the bottom, right, we would do our pi times radius squared. So 3.14 times the radius squared. Okay, so I would do 3.14 times 9 to get 28.26. But there's two of them, right? So there's the top and the bottom. So I would actually multiply this by 2 to account for both of them. So that would give me 56.52 just for the area of the two circles here. Okay, for my rectangle, this would be a little bit trickier. So I know the height is 6. Okay, but to figure out what this distance is here, this would actually, if you think about this, this would be the circumference of the circle, right? Because this rectangle wraps around the circle, okay? So the outside of the circle is the circumference. So I'd actually have to do 2 times pi times the radius, which is the formula for circumference, to figure out this length here. Okay, so 2 times 3.14 times 3 gives me 18.84 for this length. So now my rectangle, I would do 18.84 times 6 to get 113.04. Okay, so the area of my rectangle is 113.04. The area of my two circles is 56.52. And then I would go ahead and add those together. Okay, and that would give me 169.56 meters squared for the surface area. So there's an easier way, well, I think there's an easier way to do that, which would be to use the formula. And if you look at the formula, it's pretty much basically going to give us the values that we just got, but by doing it all together. So if we plug in our formula here, 2 times pi times the radius times the height plus 2 times pi times the radius squared. Okay, so 2 times 3.14 times 3 times 6. This gives me the 113.04, which is basically the rectangle, right? And if you think about that, 2 pi r, right, that's circumference times the height, okay? And then 2 pi r squared is the area of a circle times 2, which is also what we did. Okay, so if I do 2 times 3.14 times 9, that's going to give me that 56.52. Okay, so you can see these are the same numbers that we got by doing the net, but I think it's a little bit less work to kind of do here. So if we add those together, that should give us the 169.56 meters squared. Okay, so you should try to use that formula there to make it easier. Okay, so if we look at this first example here, it says use the net or the formula. We're going to use the formula. Okay, so 2 pi r times h. Again, this is really, if you're having trouble remembering the formula, 2 pi r is the circumference times the height plus the area, right, of a circle, and then you're doubling it since there's two circular bases. Okay, so if I plug this in, I have 2 times 3.14 times the radius here. Make sure you do the radius is 6, right, since the diameter is 12. And the height of the whole cylinder from base to base is 16, plus 2 times 3.14 times, again, the radius is 6 squared. So if I put that in my calculator, 2 times 3.14 times 6 times 16, I get 602.88 plus 2 times 3.14 times 36. I get 226.08. And you're just going to add those together, okay, to get the surface area of 228.96 inches squared. All right, so same thing here. Okay, so number one, again, I'm going to use my formula. So 2 pi r, so basically the circumference times the height, plus 2 times the area of a circle. Okay, so 2 times 3.14, they give me the radius is 15 and the height is 48. 2 times 3.14, the radius we said is 15. Okay, so if I plug that in, 2 times 3.14 times 15 times 48, it gives me 4,521.6. And then 2 times 3.14 times 15 squared gives me 1,413. So I'm going to add those together to get 5,934.6 inches squared for the surface area. Okay, so last one here, I'm just going to go ahead and say the radius is 6 since that's what we're using. And again, you're doing 2 pi r, so basically the circumference times the height, plus twice times the area of the circle. Okay, so 2 times 3.14, the radius we said here is 6, the height is 19, plus 2 times 3.14 times the radius, 6 squared. Okay, so if I type that in, 2 times 3.14 times 6 times 19 gives me 715.92. And then 2 times 3.14 times 36 is 226.08. So add those together, and you get 942 centimeters squared. Okay, so hopefully pretty straightforward here for our last look at surface area of a cylinder. If you have any questions, make sure you star them, and then we can go over them when we do the live session.